And here we are. Pablo just finished his live streaming, and I wanted to be here just in between his English live streaming and his Spanish live streaming. I think it's a good moment. So to do this English live streaming, because the Wednesday I have it already occupied with the Spanish live streaming, and I'm trying to find a good time frame for the English one. So here we are again. This is the 4th live streaming in English. I hope you can understand my English. I've been having some comments about, oh, your English sounds like rap. Okay, I'm not a native English speaker, so it's normal that my English is not perfect, and it won't be. So I'm sorry for that. But anyways, other people says that they can understand me perfectly, so great for that. And now let's go to the main topic of the streaming, because today, I'm going to show you one thing we had to develop, more than develop is we had to research for our main work, for one of our projects in architecture and visualization. Coming from a 3ds Max background and Maya background, we had some things very easy in 3ds Max for arch&viz. It was very easy to make a forest, it was very easy to make grass, it was very easy to make many things, especially because we had some plugins. And those plugins were specialized for doing this kind of things. So it was easy. And I thought that we were going to have some problems reproducing this type of content inside of Blender. Not because it was impossible, but because it was going to be harder. And at the beginning it was. We had some problems, we had some issues rendering scenes with big surfaces of grass, with a lot of trees, and I thought the problem was because Blender at the beginning, and I insist, at the beginning, because after having those problems and finishing the project that gave us those problems, I started to research how could we solve all this, because we are in 2018 and it's not normal that we have problems with trees and with grass and with every kind of foliage. So after making some research, I discovered some pretty neat things, and especially related to grass. So let's talk about how grass is done, or maybe how grass is treated in several tutorials in YouTube and with several add-ons. For example, Grass World or the Grass Essentials from Blender Guru. Those two, the Grass World as an add-on and Grass Essentials as a collection of assets, and a bit complex collection of assets because it has some scripting and everything. They are awesome. They are really, really great. I recommend to everyone to acquire those two collections because I think they give an astonishing visual quality. But they have a problem, and the problem is that they distribute real grass. So they distribute, I'm not sure how the word is, but they distribute the grass hairs or the grass strands. Yeah, strands. They distribute actual strands. And if you want to create a big floor with grass, like 100 meters by 100 meters, you are going to be forced to distribute billions of strands. And distributing billions of strands could be problematic. Why? Because of memory, of course. Even while Blender is using instancing, even if you use particles, Saurabh says adding drivers in Maya is very good and easy, you can do anything with it, but in Blender it sucks, so I hope drivers in Blender 2.8 will be more easy and powerful. Yeah, I think it's going to be easier. But going back to the topic, while Blender uses instancing, you have to distribute objects using particles. And when you use particles, you use more memory. Let me explain. Let's go to do an actual example. I have this scene, an empty scene. For this, I'm going to use one free add-on. That is this one, grass free. You can use grass essentials if you have it, but you can use also grass free. It's not bad, it's good. It has good looking grasses. And we are going to use this one. Let me put this in the address in the chat. Here you go. Okay, so I'm going to use this, and for this we have here we have the add-ons enabled. Oh no, I don't have the add-on enabled. So grass free. Save user settings. Okay. So here we are. Here we have the grass. We have grass and width. And we have different types of grass. I'm going to use, for example, Bahia, San Agustino, Centipede, or Bermuda, just because I like the Bermuda grass. And I'm going to add it to the scene. So we have some problems here. But before I tackle these problems, I'm going just to make the example. By the way, the scene I want to be able to recreate is this one. This is just an example scene, okay? And this is a floor of 100 meter by 100 meter, and everything is covered by grass. And it renders pretty fast. And it takes around, I think, 300 megs of RAM, no more. So it's pretty easy, and you can check here how this is actual grass. This is not a texture, this is not any other thing, this is just actual grass. But it's a different technique than the one being used in the YouTube tutorials of grass essentials or grass wall. So we have this one, we have this here, and the first thing I always do is check the scale of the objects. So if I go here, this is the scale of the objects. Bear in mind that this is grown, okay? The grass usually has a height of 4 centimeters, 5 centimeters, 6 centimeters, more or less. So in this case, we have a strand of grass with 1 meter, so obviously it's grown. And the scale is not applied. So we always, at least in my opinion, we always should apply scale, okay? Always. This is mandatory. So let's go. Let's apply a scale in the objects. Control A. Let's apply a scale in the 4 objects. Okay. And now let's give this the actual scale we need. That is 6 centimeters. So 0.1 it's going to be okay. And this one also 0.1. And this one also 0.1. Okay. Let's apply this again. And here we have. Now this is correct. Let's group this a bit more. Okay. Here we have all 3 strands. What is the difference between grass-free and the grass essentials or grass wall? The main one is that the materials in grass essentials or grass wall are better, the geometry is better, But also in grasses instance, for example, you don't have only 3 types of strands for the grass. You have like 12 or 15, I don't know, but you have a lot of strands for each grass. So you have more variety, you have less repetition in your distribution. So, okay, we have all 3 strands, and I'm going to create the floor. A plane of, I'm going to start with just, okay, 20 meters by 20 meters. No, let's go to start with 2 meters by 2 meters, yeah. Why? Because I'm going to fill this with those strands of grass. So we can go here, and I'm not going to use the pre-created particle system by the add-on. I'm going to create a new one. Why? Because I want. So here, segments the minimum possible. I don't think this is necessary, but I will configure this to the minimum. Hair length to 1, because this acts like a multiplier of the size of the grass. And now we go to render group. We have here, this is part of a group. If we check here, we have the Bermuda group. So let's use a group, Bermuda. We can pick random or use count, whatever you want. We can use count, or we can pick random. And the size should be 1, okay, 1, because we have 1 as hair length and 1 size. So this should be good. Let me bring this here just to compare. This is even, let me check. Yeah, it's okay. Here we have grass. I'm going to add a camera. Okay, here we go. Here we have a camera, and I'm going to save this scene. Just because I want to save this scene. Render scenes and test. And the hard drive has started spinning. Now, come on, hard drive, you can do it. Okay, now it saves fast. Okay, we have this scene, and I'm going to use an HDRI of an environment texture, as always. HDRI, yeah, for example, the glades. Let's configure this to 1. I said 1. Ah, yeah, okay. I have a special add-on that is the photographer to configure the camera. For this tutorial, I'm going to disable it. Just because I don't want to mix things up. I will show this add-on in another stream. But now to 1, and here we have our floor. Okay, let's configure the fill to transparent glass. Okay, here we have our floor, and this is just 2 meters by 2 meters. So let's go to fill this floor with grass. We can go here and we can increase to 10,000 grass strands, and it's not bad, right? It's not perfect, but it's not bad. We can give these grass, these particles, a bit of rotation. Let me find the rotation here. By the way, this is happening everything in CPU, I hope. Yes, this is CPU. So advanced, and here we have to enable advanced to access the rotation settings. Rotation, and we can use random. Or we should be able to use random, right? Let me test this. And let's go to use count, because it's like this is not random enough. Check. Yes, yes, and yes. Yes, it's okay. Okay. So we should be able to use random. We can change the velocity here. We can use the global C in this case. And then we can use the random. If something is not rotating correctly, it may be because its axes are wrong, but in this case it's correct. Okay, so random 1, don't use this random. This random is going to do
a completely different thing. We can bring a bit of randomness to this, so it's not everything pointing upwards. And here we go. We can render this. We can save. Let's configure this to performance 16, and that's it. I don't need to configure anything more. Okay, let's render this. So we have this piece of floor that is just 2 meters by 2 meters. This is nothing. This is completely nothing, right? So let's go to fill this. We had 10,000 particles just to cover 2 meters by 2 meters. So we can go and try with 5,000, and we can even go further, and we can use a material for the floor, and we're not going to use a texture, just a color. So saturation and value, a brown color, less saturation please, a bit brownish. Okay, this is okay, and we can now render. It's not bad, right? 5,000 particles, and we have more or less a good looking grass. But this is just for 2 meters by 2 meters. Let's try this with 20 meters by 20 meters plane. Let's go here and put 20 meters by 20 meters. Let's apply the scale. Let's move our camera. Let's go here and let's render. And now this is more problematic, right? And we are just at 20 meters by 20 meters. What can we do about this? Well, usually the recommended technique is to just increase the number of particles, or we can use also the children options. And we can interpolate children. We are going to disable the display one because I don't want any slowness in my viewport. And we can use 100. This basically is going to multiply this number, 5,000, by 100. So adding 2 zeros to the count. And we can now render. And now we are going to wait a bit. Right. This is fast, it's not too much. Okay, not bad, right? Not perfect. I prefer to have a bit more variation, but it's not bad. Okay, and now what happens when we go to 100 meters by 100 meters? And you may say, hey, Juan, but we are not going to have a project where we have a 100 meters floor. 100 square meters is correct, I think, floor. Yeah, well, you may have this project because you may be doing a golf course, for example, or you may be doing a big, I don't know how to say urbanization, a big complex of apartments with some community zones, with a park, with different things. So you may have a lot of surface to cover with grass. So let's go back. Okay. And now we have to crank out the camera. We have to crank up this to 300 meters. Okay. And now let's render again. Remember, the last render was for 20 meters by 20 meters up. First of all, I have to apply the scale. Remember, the last render was to be done in 20 meters by 20 meters. And now we have this. And this is not complete, right? We need more variety. We need more grass here. So what can we do? we can do two things. For example, we can increase this to 10,000. Yeah, 10,000. And this is at 100. It's going to give us 1,000,000. Let's try 1,000,000 strands. Now we have to wait a bit more. It's not going to be too much. But look at this. We still need more grass. This is not enough at all. So we need more grass. Okay, we can go here and we can say, okay, I need more grass, so let's increase this. Instead of 100, we can do 500. For example, 5 millions, right? 5 millions. And now we are going to be forced to wait a bit more. And bear in mind that this is empty. It's just a floor and 3 strands of grass. So this performance is not good at all. Don't worry, this can be this can be improved a lot. Okay, we are waiting when you want, Blender. This problem, this slowness is not because we are using instancing. This is because we are using 5 million of particles, and in my experience, Blender is not dealing very well with high amounts of particles. So it's going to increase our memory usage, and it's going to increase our translation or our synchronization phase in the render. Sometimes in one project we had a synchronization phase of 20 minutes. This is madness. So now it's initializing. You can see it's calm. And now it's going to start the render. Not yet. Wait for it. Wait for it. And okay, now it's starting building the BBH. And it's using nearly 1 gig of RAM. 700 megs. Okay, 1.4 gigs. 1.4 gigs of RAM. And while it's okay here, it may be not enough here, closer to the camera. So we may need more grass closer to the camera. And this is not good at all, because let's leave this, let's let this finish. We went from 21 seconds render to a 2 minutes 23 seconds render. 2 minutes more because we added 4 million particles more. So this is clearly a problem, and of course the memory, 1.4 gigs of RAM, just use it for grass. This is madness. So what can we do? And check here, we can see brown down here. So this may not be enough. So what can we do here to improve all this? Okay, it's easy. Instead of using strands, what we are going to do is to use patches of grass. And this is a more or less common technique, but it has some cons. So let's go to do it. Let's remove this particle system and let's hide this. Here we have our strands. I am going to create a mesh. Circles, okay. 15 centimeters. It's going to be a good size. Well, we can use 20 centimeters. It's going to be a good size for strand, for pads, sorry. And mesh. Tell me that you can grid fill this. Yes, okay, perfect. We have this here, and we are now going to create our grass particle system here first. So we can create grass. This is going to be here. 40 centimeters, no, 40 centimeters, no. I want 20 centimeters. 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. And this is going to be small enough to be able to adapt to different forms or different shapes for the floor. Imagine you have some road, or you have any kind of delimiter or limiter, and this is going to be able to adapt to this without much problem. So 20 centimeters is okay. I'm going to apply the scale, and now hair segments the minimum possible, advanced hair length to 1. I'm going fast because this is over and over again the same. So hair length to 1, we go to rotation, we can put global Z or normal. We are going to use, in this case we are going to use global Z. And no physics, object, no group, sorry, and Bermuda, and remember size 1. Okay. And I think this is not completely working, but it's okay. So let's give some random size here, 0.3, 0.4, that's okay. Okay, and let's give this a lot less grass, for example, 10 or 15 or 25 or even 100. No, 100 is too much. Remember, we are going to multiply this a lot of times, so to use a lot of her. Okay, this is fine. And let's give randomization for rotation. So we have a random patch of grass, and now we can use this patch of grass and we can create 2, 3, 4, 5 variations, just modifying the seed. But we are going to do another thing, that is that we are going to create little mountains of grass. So we have very little grass in the borders and tall grass in the center. So this will help us to mix the different patches and avoid tiling, and this will help us also to when the grass has to have a limit and has to be close a road or whatever thing. So how are we going to do this? This is pretty easy. We are going to edit mode. Let's hide the particle system. We are going to edit mode, and I'm going to subdivide this. This is okay. And now we are going to weight pane. Draw strength of 1, and we can use alt click and it gives us a gradient, and we can use this, we can change this to radial gradient, and now we can, come on, I think there was an option to change this, but okay, we can paint our gradient, for example, up to here, and then change to radial. Or even we are going to do a bigger one. Radial, no, this is too big. Too big yet. Let's strength 1. Let's delete everything and add strength of 1. For example, and radial. Okay, this is okay. And we are going to use this weight pane, this vertex group, to distribute our particles. So we go here. Probably these are things that you already know. So vertex group, density group, length group. This way we have small strands in the sides, and as I said, a little mountain. Okay, we can increase this to 75, for example. Yeah, and this will help with the blending. Okay, we have our little patch, and we have 20 minutes to go because I will finish this tutorial, this live streaming, just before Pablo starts his second live streaming in Spanish. So we have this one, and we can convert this particle system to geometry. And bear in mind one thing, that when you convert a particle system to geometry, what you are going to get is not just a single object. You are going to get every instance, every strand is going to be an object. So in this case, we have just 75 particles, so 75 strands. But in the case you have 1 million strands, you are going to look up Blender and you are going to crash Blender. So have this in mind. So we can convert this. Okay, we are going to move this to a different layer. This to the first layer. And here we have our group of our paths of grass. Okay, one important thing is that I cannot go and just join all these objects because it's going to mess with this one. Let me show you. If I pick all these objects, okay, and I join this, I am going to define one active one, and I join this, as you can see, you mess with these instances. So what I find I need to do is to duplicate this, and now I can join. Okay, so this first group can be deleted, and now I can put this. Well, first of all, I'm going to use origin to geometry 0, 0, and that's okay. And we center the cursor and origin to 3D cursor, and now we have our paths of grass. We can hide this, we don't want this anymore, and we can show our floor. Let's move this here, and this too. Let's move this here. Now we can show our floor, and we have these paths. Let's make sure this is not in a group. We can create a group, and we can create, as I said, a group of 5 or 6 patches of grass, and this will improve our avoiding tiling and several things, but this is okay. So we go here and we restore our particle system. The first one, I think it was this one. Yeah, it was this one. I'm going to reduce this to 100, and I'm going to use just an object, and I want to use my patch of grass. So at first sight, you may think, yeah, Juan, but this is still small. I'm going to need a lot of particles too. Yeah, you are going to need a lot, but a lot less than using just strands. So I'm going to use 1000 particles. This is something Blender can handle pretty well. And I'm going to disable the display or configure this as path just to have an idea of what I have here. And I'm going to start using just 20 children. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough, but let's test. So for start, we are synchronizing the object. It's taking a bit. Maybe 20 it's too much because it's taking too much right now. Yeah, 20 is too much. Well, what's initializing already? 20 is too much, I think. Let's use just 10. So we have, 1 million particles. Okay, synchronizing. We have synchronizing 1 million particles. Now it's initializing, and now it's rendering. Updating BVH, and here we go. Look at this, 1 million particles, and we have a 100 by 100 meters or 100 square meter floor covered by grass, by actual real grass. This is cool. We have to increase a bit more our particles count. Let's go to, we use 20 children, we use 10 children. We can increase this, 2 millions, why not? 2 millions. And we went from at 20 meter by 20 meter or 2 meter by 2 meter in 20 seconds more or less to 2 minutes and 23 seconds to cover the full 100 meter by 100 meter floor. And now back to 38 seconds, maybe a bit more because this is initializing, but it was about 200 megs of RAM, more or less. 300 right now, and 500. And this is too much. We can decrease this count. But hey, look, we have our grass. So now, let's go to do some improvements. Because one thing that is clear is that you may need to recreate a big floor of grass. You may need to do that. But usually you are not going to end up with your floor in your camera at every time, at every frame or at any moment. You should have a way to optimize this. And there is one important thing. At first, I thought this was not working because I was doing it wrong. This was all my fault, as everything when I think something is not working in Blender, it's just my fault. And what is that? If we go to simplify and we enable simplify, we have here two options: use camera cool and use distance cool. And if you enable this, we are going to launch render just in the viewport. Okay, let me enable again the geometry, display rendered. So we can see here that it's not working. It's not cooling the particles. It's not removing everything. We have everything in memory. And remember that if we go to our render result, and let me disable this again, or we can go to render it and use 20%. Okay, remember that if we go to a render result, to take a render result, UV image editor, here, we were using 500, nearly 600 megs of RAM. It's more than half a gig. So, if we go here, and I'm going to change this, it seems it's not working, but if we go to the object options and we go down here in cycle settings, we have performance, use camera cool and use distance cool. If we enable this, then it's going to work, but it's going to do something weird. Why? Because you can see here, well, I'm not sure if you can see here. Let me disable. Let me change the material of the object just to be able to see things more clearly. Okay, you can see here that some of the grass is being cooled, it's been removed, but not all of the grass is being removed. And this is just because the settings of the camera cool and distance cool. If we use just camera cool, we disable distance cool, then it's going to remove everything that is outside the camera. But there are some times when you have something reflective that you need a bit more grass in the near field, in the near part of the surroundings of the camera. So, because it's going to appear in the reflection. So for this is the distance cool. With distance cool, you can force this part to be respected. So we can go to 20, for example, or to 30, and we may force to this part to be respected, to be shown in the reflections. And apart from that, we have our camera cool distance, that is right now is 0.1. We can go up to 0, for example, and this is going to be completely near the limit of the camera. This is going to provoke some pop-ups and some problems. So it's better to let this bit of distance, maybe not as much as it gives, but this is going to be okay. 0.05. Okay, now we have this, and we can go and test our render. It's synchronizing. Okay, it's taking a while. Now it's initializing. Hello, aprendiste todo maestro nada. Hi. And now it's taking just 400 megs of RAM, so we are already optimizing this, and we can reduce the amount of particles as we saw. So we can go to 14, for example. It should be enough. We have 10 minutes. This is going to be my shortest live streaming ever. Just 40 minutes. 40 minutes, 50 minutes. We are at less than 300 megs of RAM. No, not 20 cores, 64. I know some of you wanted to see this. Come on, performance. It's an amazing Threadripper. It's awesome. I'm not using the GPU for rendering this. This is just CPU, 64 cores. It's awesome. So here we have our grass. We can of course give some randomization here. We can use this, and we can go to, where is it? Velocity. Oh, we have also the randomization of rotation. But we already have our grass here, and it's pretty optimized. It's going to use very little memory amount. And if you mix several patches, if you use several patches, not just one patch like we did, if you use several patches, you are going to get a pretty good grass. What happens if I don't want a part to be shown? This is pretty easy. It's particles 101. We can go just here. We are going to disable this. This is our floor. Let me subdivide. Shift R, Shift R, Shift R, and Shift R. I'm not sure why the keys are not working now. Shift R and Shift R. Okay. And now I'm going to paint radius. Yeah, this is okay. So we are going to paint like a little road, and we are going to use a bit of blur, strength 20. Okay, this is okay. Let me check from here. Okay, and now we are going to invert this. Invert. Now I want grass along this this floor, but not along this path, along this road. So this is pretty easy. We just go. We can show the particle system, and we just go to density and to length. And as you can see, the length is going to multiply the size of the patches, and it's going to reduce the size when it's near the limit. We can leave this that way, and we can enable the size later. So we go here and we can render this, and we have a pretty efficient grass system. And you can use Grass Essentials and you can use Grasswall, but my recommendation is to use it to generate the patches and to use your own particle system to control the floor, the distribution. Okay, we can enable the length group. And of course, if we do something more exact in the white paint, we are going to get more perfect edges. But check this. This is rendering pretty fast. Here we go. And as I said, this could be improved using more straight edges in the weight paint. But here we go. under 300 megs of RAM, 32 seconds, and a floor of 100 meters by 100 meters filled with grass. It's pretty easy, it's really good. I really like this, and this is the way to go. And by the way, for those of you that are thinking what happens with 3ds Max and its plugins, okay, we tested Forest Pack free in one of our Max licenses, and I have to say that at least with Mental Ray, it took more than half an hour to fill a 100 meter by 100 meter floor, but not to completely fill the floor like this one, to just give us a strand of grass, a group of grass, every more or less every 50 centimeters or so. And it was using patches like this one. It was not distributing strands, it was distributing patches. So performance is not better in 3ds Max. In fact, based on our test, is worse than in 3ds Max, at least for doing this kind of distribution. And this could be improved using animation DOS. In fact, we will improve this in a future live streaming, but this could be improved using animation nodes to differentiate, to do different things to the objects and not just use the simple particle distribution system. So that's it for today. I hope you liked it. I hope you can excuse my English in case you don't perfectly understand me, and in case I wobble or bubble a bit. And please, if you like this, press the like button. We are starting with the live streamings. I hope in some point Carlos Hernandez, my co-presenter in the Spanish streamings, is going to be present also in the English streamings. Let's see. And nothing more. Press the like button, subscribe to our Instagram channel also, and see you in the next live streaming. Bye. Thanks.